Hello folks, and welcome back. Now, I know this is a watch channel, and I know this is not a watch, but we'll get to that later. What you're seeing here is my dad's hammer. He passed away many years ago. This has been sitting in my toolbox forever, and I've been meaning to get to it, and over the years I've actually used it a couple of times, but it's become more and more dangerous as the handle was ready to fly off. So I decided, after watching a bunch of restoration videos on YouTube going down that rabbit hole, I decided to give restoration a try. So maybe we'll expand the channel. Of course, I'll still be doing watch videos. And in the future, I hope to expand the channel to maybe doing more things. But in the meantime, take a look at this 45-year-old hammer, its transition, and let me know what you think in the comments section. Like and subscribe. Here we go. I'm going to try and keep the conversation here as minimal as possible. I had to change a bunch of camera angles here. I was using it for watches, and obviously it doesn't work well for doing restorations. Also, my bench in my house and everything is not set up to do restoration, but I wanted to do this one project. It'll probably be the only actual restoration I do. You'll see throughout this video so many mistakes that I made, so many terrible camera angles, and just things I would do over and over again. In my head, I always criticize the guys who do restorations. I would do this different. I would do that better. But until you're actually in the middle of it, you really don't know what you would do. So I appreciate those guys so much more. Please forgive the mistakes that I made and the absolute ridiculous things that I did in some cases. In any case, take a look. Hope you enjoy. You'll see the name on this hammer. I tried to identify who it was. I was unable to do so. It's either Dayton or Dalton or something like that. You also see at the top, there's a lot of forging marks and that have been in there since day one. And some serious pitting all the way around the piece. Also, the hammer is very loose inside the head. It actually appears that the wood inside there has shrunk. That's some sort of stamp or symbol from the manufacturer. It has some words on it. I couldn't make out what they were. And I'm not sure what's on the top of this thing. At first I thought it was some sort of wax substance. I tried to scrape it off, but it's actually the wood. The wood is probably 60 years old. Who knows where it's been and what it's been in. But in any case, it needed to come off. I'm going to cut the hammer off right where you see right here. And you see where it wobbles in there. I'm going to just try to push it out the other end. So that's it for my commentary. I might give it a little bit here and there, but I'm going to just let it roll so you can see what I did. I first wanted to see what a little wire wheel action would do, and just superficially started taking some of the rust off. My main goal here, of course, was to take some of these casting marks off. After watching a lot of these restoration videos, I have to say that I have a greater appreciation for what these guys do and how expensive it is, because this bit didn't last very long, and I wound up going through several of them to get this and other casting marks off. At this point, I'm definitely making progress, but it is extremely coarse, and I think I've already wiped out half of this grinding wheel on this Dremel. I found that the metal is extremely hard down here. It must be tempered, because this is where you pull nails. For some reason this was extremely hard to grind. The bit was wearing out faster than the metal that I was grinding. At this point, I'm convinced all of the exterior rust is off. There's some stuff still in the middle there that I'll clean out, but we're ready to move on to the next phase. So you can see here, after a lot of grinding and a lot of time on the belt, I finally got the basic shape. Although it's very heavily pitted and needs some more extensive work. You can see some of the pits in here. I haven't gotten all the way down, so I still got some way to go. I'm going to keep the side with the name pretty much as is from here. So I had changed the belt now. I went down to a finer grit, and you can see that as parts of it get polished, it makes the pits stand out much, much more. A lot more work to do. What we see here are some hardening spots. You'll see these on brake rotors sometimes, and I'm going to try and get them out here with my sanding wheel. Now there's nothing else I could do but hand sanding. I'm going to go with different grits, one after the other, and I can tell you that I spent way too much time on this. There were many times throughout this project where I said, what the heck am I doing? But like I said, it was for a good cause. It's Dad's hammer, and it was going to be a show item, and I was never going to use it for actually hammering again. Now I'm desperate to try and clean this off any way I can, and I get my Dremel arsenal out and start using every type of bit that I can find, see if I can get this smoothed out in different places. So here's where real stupidity kicks in. Instead of mounting this adapter on sanding adapter onto my drill press and moving the work around it, I decide to do both of these things by hand. I have it in a hand drill and I'm holding the work in my hand. Probably the stupidest thing I did during this whole project. Here I put a finer paper on and go at it again, and again, and again, and again. So as you can see, I am making progress, but it seems like for every little bit I gain in some areas, I make it worse. But I eventually conquer it, and it's just a matter of some elbow grease. Here we go again. Now this is the area where you pull nails. So this part of the hammer is extremely hard. And I needed to clean out the inside. And the only thing I could think of to make it work was a file. But I needed something that could get in there really tight. Back to handwork. After a lot more sanding by hand and by belt, I take out my little tiny 3-inch polishing wheel, which is not mounted to anything. You can see it moving around, and I start polishing to see really where I'm at. genuine hickory here. I'm not sure, but it seems to be a little bit shiny, so I think they put some sort of coating on it. I'm going to strip that off, and I am going to finish it with some stain. By the way, this is from Amazon, Lake Candles. There's the number. I think I paid $7 or $8 for it. Seems pretty well made. You know, it's not perfect. Look at that right there. Wish that wasn't there. But I like the fact that the octagon shape and all. So anyway, we take out the trusty old Harbor Freight pocket knife, $5. Customized it so that the Harbor Freight knives are usually very, very difficult to open. But I took it apart and customized it. There is no assist in this whatsoever. So I'm going against gravity and pop, there it goes. Okay, so we got a little bit more we need to go. And I want to get down to about here. Still rasping, still sanding. I'll be back. Okay, so I think I'm just about there. I don't want to go too much further because I do need this to spread as far as it can. We'll see if that cross piece will make up for some of the spacing in here. I'm not sure if it will or it won't, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay, so here is where the hammer stops on that line, and this is the top. So it gives me plenty of room for spread here, and I still have plenty of meat on the hammer right here. I think that should be good enough as far as getting a hold. Okay, you can see that I'm holding my handle up with a giant C-clamp. That should keep it from falling over. And I'm using a custom stain. This is a stain. It has mineral spirits, and it also has a varnish in it. So I do want to get this thing an antique looking. I don't know how many coats of this I'll use. I will tell you that the varnish portion of this is about 50% mineral spirits, and the rest is a colored stain. I'm going to use a foam brush to try and avoid the bubbles that seem to always happen when you use varnish. All right, so I got this thing, I put about 3 coats of stain on here, and it's actually a stain mixture like I was talking about. And now I'm putting on some Varathane. Actually, it's urethane, I'm sorry. And I'm using a satin finish. I'm not using a gloss finish because, like I said, I want to keep a little bit of the antique look. So we'll be splattering a little of this on here. I'll probably do 2 or 3 coats. Okay, I have the color of the hammer and the finish on the hammer exactly where I want it. Now I have to deal with this. A lot of movement in the top there. And I want to make sure that when this is done, all of that gap is filled in and the hammerhead doesn't come flying off. Okay, so I've got my 15-minute epoxy that I wound up using. I'm going to set my handle in now. This is a do or die situation. And I know some guys hit the hammer, but I just don't want to mess up the edge, and I think I'm on pretty solid ground here. That sounds about as solid as it's going to get. Okay, it's kind of splitting now, which is okay. Well, you know what? Before it hardens, maybe I'll do it. Let me use my coping so I'll get as much of this off as I can. So here's where I decide to put in the cross wedge. This is metal, the other was wood. I could have probably gotten away without this, and I second guessed myself constantly after I did this, but again, I'm not going to be using the hammer. This kind of adds a little bit more support. It comes with the hammer, both wedges come, but I'm just going to try it and see how it works out. Okay, we're gonna let that harden all the way, and then do some final sanding, and we should be done. And there you have it, folks. My dad's hammer, completely restored, new handle, hours worth of work. As I mentioned several times, I left this side of the hammer, that you're going to see in a moment here, in this condition because I didn't want to grind off all of the wording on the side. Other than that, it's been a hell of an experience. I don't know if I'll be doing any more restorations like this, but I will be changing it up on the channel pretty frequently. I hope it's something that you enjoy. If not, leave comments. If you do, leave comments, but make sure, most of all, you like and subscribe if this is something that you enjoyed. Thank you.